Today we have another demonstration of what happens when Donald Trump is working without a teleprompter.
I spoke to Secretary General yesterday, and we had a great conversation. He was very, I think he was actually excited by it. And I actually had a name, NATO, right? And then you have ME, Middle East. You'll call it NATOMI. I said, what a beautiful name, NATOMI. I'm good at names, right? USMCA, like the song YMCA. Everybody, nobody could remember USMCA. I said, think of the song YMCA. Now everybody says it.
There was more insanity in that short burst of presidential speech than our country's entire history of presidential speeches. Sorry, United States Marine Corps, if you thought the Mexican trade agreement was named in your honor by using your initials, USMCA, you were wrong. President Trump did not have the U.S. Marine Corps in mind. He had these people in mind. The Village People made the song YMCA a hit in 1979 when Donald Trump was a married man prowling New York City's nightclubs without his wife. So remember that, Trump supporters. The Trump name for the new Mexican trade agreement is in honor of not the United States Marines. It's in honor of the Village People, those Village People right there on your TV screen, which is interesting, but not outright crazy, like saying the Middle East should be in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, an organization in which each member pledges to join in the military defense of every other member. That means that every member of NATO would be immediately militarily engaged in the Middle East every time a missile is fired, including missiles fired by Donald Trump in the Middle East. It is impossible to listen to Donald Trump say things like that and then fall into lines supporting him unless you have the capacity to completely surrender your ability to think. Which brings us to Frank Rich's latest brilliant article in New York Magazine, in which he says all cults come to an end, often abruptly, and Trump's Republican Party is nothing if not a cult. Frank Rich takes a look at what would happen to the Trump toadies, and for that, he takes a look at Richard Nixon's defenders and the Vichy collaborators of World War II. Frank Rich will join us next. He writes, once Trump has vacated the Oval Office and possibly for decades thereafter, his government, like any other deposed strongman's, will be subjected to a forensic colonoscopy to root out buried crimes, whether against humanity or the rule of law or both. With time, everything will come out. It always does. Joining us now is Frank Rich, writer-at-large for New York Magazine. He is also an executive producer of HBO's Succession and was an executive producer for the Emmy Award-winning HBO series Veep, which will live forever online. And Frank, can we use the Succession theme music for your introductions? We can get it for cheap, right?
Well, yeah, very cheap. Why
It's
not?
so great. The composor was...
His name is Nicholas Patel.
Nicholas Patel. Yeah, it's just
brilliant guy.
It's fantastic, as is the show.
Thank you.
So, you're saying something that I have long believed, and it's one of the things that I find so strange about people like William Barr. William Barr knows there's going to be another attorney general someday, and it's going to be a Democratic attorney general, and that attorney general is going to have the power to look at every single thing William Barr did, and it's coming at some point.
It's coming, and you feel these people like him or that crackpot senator who's parroting Putin down in Louisiana, John Kennedy, in quotes, they're acting as if there's no tomorrow, there's never a reckoning. And what I try to do in this piece is make the point, whoever goes to jail or doesn't go to jail, whatever crimes are found out now or in the course of a Trump presidency is nothing compared to what's been buried that none of us know about, not even a very zealous investigative press has found yet. And people are going to be turning over rocks for decades. And you look back at history, General Motors and Ford both had executives who were essentially Hitler appeasers, and in case of General Motors, were involved in the armaments that were used against American troops and manufacturing them in Germany during the war. It took 40 years to find all that out, but it all came out. And people who support these kind of regimes, whether it be appeasement then or America First in the 30s, or Trump, which is, let's face it, a criminal presidency, however you want to slice it, there's going to be a reckoning. And one other thing I wanted to mention is we can only take the Nixon analogy so far because, yes, Nixon abused his office. He also tried to throw a presidential campaign, but it would never occur to him to collaborate and aid the Soviet Union, right, America's own enemy. It would never occur to him, to my knowledge, to break up immigrant families and at the border and turn away refugees from horrors in other countries. It would never occur to him to, quite the contrary, to fight climate change science and to downgrade a regulation of environmental poisons. And so these are really serious crimes, and whether they produce jail sentences or not for the people who did them, they'll be implicated, and so will their children and their grandchildren. There's going to be a stain.
And the thing about Nixon is that if he wanted to switch sides in the argument about the Soviet Union, what he knew was no one will follow me. If I try to start talking pro-Soviet Union tomorrow, there won't be a single Republican who says, oh, that's a good thing.
No, and here it is a cult because they absolutely, people who in some cases did have reputations that they've now destroyed, good reputations, have made fools of themselves for their dear leader. And the thing about cults is they always do come to an end. And the cult leader, whether it be the Reverend Moon, who was a Nixon supporter, or Jim Jones or whomever, Charlie Manson, they're never going to be reformed, and and that's certainly true of Trump. They're never going to see the problems with their ways. But the people who swirled around them and were taken in, they're going to pay a price, a human price and a reputational price forever.
Frank Rich, thank you very much
for
joining us tonight. And Succession theme music next time. Thank you very much. And when we come back, the billionaire who has surged into second place in the latest South Carolina Democratic presidential poll and third place in the latest Nevada Democratic presidential poll will join us next.
Now you know about the YMCA.